Hello and welcome everyone to the OVRC. Welcome to round 4 of the GT4 season. I am joined once again by Owen.
Hello everyone.
And we are today at Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. Circuit that the race here last season GT3, as the qualifying is just beginning now. So you want to quickly run through the standings?
Yeah, so leading the championship right now is Mike Stoffman with 220 points. And second is Jordan Grant-Smith with 172 points. And third is John Dalton with 168 points. And fourth is Marcus Lawrence with 144 points. And in fifth is Ryan Mawson with 112 points. Then in the team standings, leading is Virtual Drives by TX3, followed by GS Racing and WNT Motorsports, which are all just the same as the Drivers' Championship right now. They're not all single-person teams though. WNT Motorsports does have Mark Whitford in it as well, but he hasn't scored any points yet. Then in fourth is Baguette Box Racing with 165 points. And in fifth is Flying Husky Motorsports with 112. And of course, if you want to see the full standings, you can do so at the link in the description, as usual.
Yeah. So as qualifying begins now, it is going to get dark the circuit depending on the weather, as sunset has just happened in game, as John Dalton will be the first car on track to set a qualifying time. He's gone through the final corner right now, so let's watch on board as normal for his first times laps as we start down the start-finish straight. Get braking as the car on the inside into Paddock Hill Bend. It's a quite tricky corner, quite easy to roll out wide here onto the gravel. Then a quick sprint up the hill towards up Pilgrims, and then into Druids. Trying to hug it around the apex and get down that short, quick sprint right down to Graham Hill Bend. Quite a nasty off track here if you do cut it. Dalton does seem to stay on track though, so you should avoid that. And head into Surtees, and this is where the GP layout begins compared to the Indy layout, as Dalton's a bit deep there, rolls a bit wide, hits the exit curb though. And now starts Pilgrim's drop. So as Pilgrim rhymes earlier, as Pilgrim's dropped now, down the hill. Into Hawthorns, a very quick right-hander. Again, roll it out the corner and go into Westfield Bend, which is another similar corner, but this time going downhill rather than uphill. Another down Dingodale, the quick up, down and up. And a quick flick. It used to be a chicane there, actually. Luckily, it's gone now because it was not great. Into Sterling's. Watch the exit curb here, especially in GT3 cars. That's a nasty curb there, but not so bad in GT4s, as you know, got to loop down the final bit of straight, down to Clark Curve, as the bars will be knocked over, and that is a lap of the Brands Hatch GP circuit. And John Dalton will set his first time of a 1:32.556. We'll start to see a few more people set times now.
Yep, interestingly, Mike Stuffmill clearly not getting a good lap in.
I don't think many people got a good lap in. There's something about the gaps currently forming right now. Lawrence currently sitting on provisional pole in the first few minutes, so not like it will mean much in the long run. The order will sort of normalise a bit as the more people set their times.
Yep, Thomas Jensen coming towards the end of his lap now. He heads into the final corner. Let's see where he goes on the leaderboard. And he goes second.
Good lap behind right here. I think it's quite a busy circuit out there right now, so it might be quite hard to get some clean air, which might be a reason for some of the poorer first lap times. As you can see, that right, Rico Hasser stuck behind one of the McLarens. I don't know which one that is. But it won't be helping his times at all. All across the line, currently slight improvement, about a second improvement. He'll move himself up to P10. As John Dalton is once again on plenty through his first lap he just set. You want to know what F Fox is? That is Mark Whitford. His name is incorrect. It's technically correct when you're spectating him, but the timing tower is wrong. So just to clear that up. What's going on now? So a few people are already setting improved times, which does suggest their first laps weren't particularly strong as people were hoping.
Jensen about to go over the line again and ends up in P1. John Dalton also improving right now by 3/10. So he could well challenge for pole position here. At least professional pole, of course, as we still have a long way to go. As he heads around the final corner. And he will cross the line and move into P1.
Vincent Ertzbich, a new name today, is currently in P7, looking to improve this time. Currently stuck by one of the Camaros. See where he will end
Looks like
up.
that's Dendo.
Oh yeah, Dendo the Camaro. Let's see what across the line stays. Position does improve, but does not gain any positions. James Butler across the line improves his time now as well. Sebastian also an improvement heading into Druids. Is a bit deep though, so might have lost a lot of that gain time.
Christopher Verstappen is about to finish his first timed lap. Same with I think Molly had just finished his lap. Anyway, Verstappen is about to cross the line. Let's see where he goes. And he goes nowhere. I think that will have been an invalidated lap.
Yep, you're starting to head that back out on track as well now after doing quick pit stops as Sebastian Bruno cuts the top there and gets a lot of sparks in the bottom of his car. Looks quite pretty. Probably not the fastest way through that corner though.
Yep. Robert Nygaard also improving. Let's see where he goes. He should gain a couple tenths here, and he does. So he moves to P7. Sebastian Brunier about to cross the line. Doesn't seem to be improving right now. And stays in P10. Jordan Wansink was improving, but seems like he's made a mistake and he's gone back to the pits. See a bunch more people heading out of the pits. So those are some of the people at the top of the leaderboard right now, going out for another lap.
Yep, top 4 all on laps. As Merrick crosses the line, moves up to P10. Russell Verstappen just crossed the line now and moves to P9 or 32.2.
Yep, so that will have been his first timed lap. Sebastian Brunier out there improving right now. 4 tenths up on his delta. Should be able to gain at least 1 position. Not more. If he finishes this lap, of course. You can see his exhaust glowing, which is interesting to see.
That's a little effect that ACC has.
And he moves to P10.
A good lap by him. So Mike Stoffman is currently improving his time, as he currently is sitting pole. But still 9 minutes to go. Ooh, Falkenstein goes hard into the wall there. I think I made a bit of a mistake.
So yeah, he is not improving right now. Mark Whitford is improving. He is close behind Stoffmill on track. So let's see where he ends up going when he crosses the line. And he moves into P4, overtakes Thomas Jansen.
You know, Mawson and Jansen both improving their times. So actually, they're just two together right now. So Mawson can get a bit of a tow from the back of the Maserati. See these two, but it's very close within this field right now between these drivers, especially the top 5, within 2/10 of each other.
Yeah, so a few of these guys really close on track right now. Jansen, Mawson and Dalton are all together, although Dalton just backed off to give himself more of a gap for his next lap.
Jansen lost a bit of his improvement he made that lap, it seems like.
Yep, Lawrence still improving as he heads around the final corner. So let's see where he can go. Someone just moved into the top 3, I think.
That was
And
Mawson.
Marcus Lawrence takes P1.
So Mawson goes to P2 after that lap. So getting a bit of a tow from the behind Jansen there. I don't know how much it affected his time, but definitely was there. Once again, the gap extends for the leaders. Let's see if everyone else can respond. Marcus Lawrence currently on another improvement right now as he heads down up to track name now.
Yep, Thomas Jansen also improving by a couple tenths. Yes. He is pretty close behind. Someone just backed off behind him. One of the Porsches. Anyway, he's going around the final corner again. And he's lost his improvement. So it's very close margin around his position right now. And so he does gain 1 position and moves to P5.
Lawrence crossed the line and does improve his time a bit, so extending his lead out. Like a few people are losing time in that final corner and then being improving the rest of the lap, but can't quite make it together in that final stretch.
Yeah, so Mike Stoffmill and Mark Whitford are together on track. They are both looking to improve again. Whitford right behind Stoffmill. Maybe hoping to get a little bit of slipstream there. As Mark is improving slightly, not seeing any improvement from Mike yet.
Yeah, but it's a question of where he's lost all this time on the last lap. And can he get a better lap this time around? As there's still quite a few people out on track still.
Neither of them still making a notable improvement, at least as far as we can see on our screens as they are about to cross the line. And Stuffmill doesn't improve. Mark doesn't improve either.
Jansen
Thomas Jansen crossing the line. Moves to P2.
He's closing that gap a bit more. Still 5 minutes to go. So still timers. Vincent moves across the line. Does not improve his time. Bart Whitford out on track, improving his time. John Dalton improving right now. Gordon Wansing's improving. Jansen's improving. Quite a lot of people are trying to get their best lap in the closing minutes of this session. So Mark Whitford heading towards the final corner. And let's see if he can move up into the top 5 this lap. Looks very strong indeed. It might be pole. It is pole indeed. It was the last second there. I saw the 5/10 in the relative and like, oh, this might be a good lap as his teammate.
John Dalton is also improving. Not quite challenging for pole though. Should maybe gain some positions though. He moves to P3.
There's still a few more people out on track. It's 3 minutes left to go. Can anyone deal with these laps? Top 3 cars, all BMWs. BMW was very strong 2 weeks ago at Paul Ricard, and seems strong once again, this time taking the top spots. So, more people are returning back out on track as well now. Doesn't seem like everyone is done just yet.
John Dalton still improving. Jansen out there as well. It's going on the final corner again, but doesn't seem to really be improving. And he stays where he is. John Dalton also lost some improvement at the end there. And stays where he is.
Seems to be definitely losing that time in that final few corners.
John Dalton is back in the pits, so that will be it from him. As I don't think he has enough time for an outlap.
If he leaves now, which he isn't, he would, but he's missed that chance. Mawson is currently improving a tiny bit.
Yeah, Marcus Lawrence also out there. Mark Whitford currently on an outlap, it seems. He is about to start another timed lap. Thomas Jansen losing a second so far in this lap, so I don't think he is going to improve on this lap, though he should still have time to do another lap. I'm also improving by 3/10 as he heads around the final corner. He could well take P1. And he will cross the line and does take P1. Mark Whitford in the pits, so he's not going to be taking pole position.
Marcus Lawrence has pulled up to the side of the road.
Tom Jansen is just started another lap. This will be his last chance.
So he's the only one within an earshot to take pole right now.
Yeah, all the other pole challengers are in the pit lane.
As Bonsley crosses the line and finishes P7 overall.
Jensen not improving on his time so far.
Few more cars on track. There's a tiny bit wide there. Let's try this. Again, it's the last bit of the track he is losing his advantage on, so if he can nail that part, he should be good. But he is down. He heads now into the second to last corner. Has some 2 cars parked there, and that probably hasn't helped at all.
Nope. So I think that was Sasha Haase who was just parked in the middle of the track there. Jensen does not improve.
That thing that might have cost him a tiny bit there.
Yeah.
Just being in the racing line forced him to go wide.
Oh yeah, I only noticed one of the Porsches that were spun around on the track there, but it looks like it was 2 of them.
As that is qualifying done and dusted. So Morrison will take pole and will start on the front road, followed by Mark Whitford, Marcus Lawrence, John Dalton, Thomas Janssen, Mike Stoffmill, John Wantig, Vincent, Christopher Steppen, and Robert Nygaard are your top 10. And yeah, so an interesting qualifying session. Hasn't been the first time Mawson's been on pole in GT4. Mike Stoffmill quite far down. And yeah, quite a strong performance from all 3 of the BMW cars. And with a possibly missed opportunity for Janssen there.
Yep. Took pole position that last time around, but doesn't seem to have quite the same amount of speed in his Maserati this time. Mike Stoffmill only in 6th as well. And we've got Mark Whitford in P2, which is very impressive. He hasn't scored any points yet so far this season, but he had a very good race in the GT3 last week. So let's hope he can have a great result this time around in GT4 as well.
Yep. I hope we're good to get another string of good results here. It's quite funny watching the start finish straight on this track is not flat. So the cars on the jacks are at Stuart angle.
They're kind of floating around.
Everyone starts to grid up. One thing there in the KTM, been to see how well he does here. Obviously, the Alpine, the KTM struggled a lot at Monza, but Brands Hatch, not so many straights, luckily. Of course, the issue of Brands Hatch is quite hard to overtake unless you get a bit rough. So let's see if people get their elbows out this time, or will people be respectful of each other. Of course, there's no pit stop, so no need to pit at all, so that's not going to be a chance for people to try and make something work, as these cars do not need to pit stop within an hour anyway. So, any predictions, Owen, before we get underway?
Well, I think the usual safe bets are starting quite far down. Tom Stenson and Stoffmill starting in P5 and P6. So it will be very interesting to see how the others do. in terms of consistency, because that's definitely the thing that Jensen and Stoffel are very good at, which is where when others are challenging for the top positions, that's where they tend to struggle in that consistency throughout the entire race.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I think Mawson's got a very good spot right now, but Mark Whitford has that BMW is always strong, and it can be quite easy to go make an overtake down as they will start to go on a rolling start very shortly. Mawson gets underway. It's a fairly short lap around here, so it shouldn't be too long for these cars to get underway. But lap one's quite tricky around here. There's no clear turn one, where you're hard on the brakes. It's sort of, you have to trust each other to get around turn one safely, and I think that could be an interesting spot for some of the more aggressive drivers to try and make something work. But they always got to be careful just not to hit anyone, because obviously that ain't good. A bit of weaving going on from Marcus Lawrence as this will be of course, as normal, the last chance for drivers to get any sort of tyre temp or brake temp into their car before they get into turn one. And I think brake temp's going to be very important here. If you just understeer off, your race can end very quickly around here. Now go down the hill. Should have looked down the order, see any surprises. I think a lot of the general people are actually in their correct spots as normal. So, outside of the top 6 being a bit different compared to the normal things we see, there's nothing out of the ordinary around here as they start to line up side by side into the final corner. As they are somewhat hard on the brakes, so it's not hitting each other. Luckily, they don't have any collisions at this point, but if there was, there would probably end up a bit of pile up there. As they will start to get ready to go as we go through the final corner right now. Mawson on the inside line as he's got to slowly build up to the start-finish stretch. It's quite far down around here. See, everyone is together now as we are about to go racing. And it's go! Green flag as the cars now race down towards turn one. Mawson gets a good start there and will hold the inside line going into turn one. As there's already been a bit of a contact with...
Whitford gets spun around.
He's still going there. There's a bit more cars going off in the background there as well. I think it's one of the KTMs. I think you don't know how much damage, if any damage they took there.
Marcus end up in P5.
Yeah, a bunch of cats. Stoffmill's moved up to P3, I believe. So a good start by him. Jansen not so lucky as he's forced around the outside there. As Vincent is quite strong right now in the highest place of the Alpines, but Mawson's making a big gap already.
Whitford just made the move on Urbridge, so he's back into P4 at least.
Saw a Porsche just fly off there. I think that's Sasha Hasse went off there in the Porsche. Just misjudged their braking point.
Yep, Sasha Hasse dropped a lot of positions. I think that will have been him.
Now head for the the final corner and see how the order stands after lap 1.
Brian Molson getting a huge gap immediately, presumably because of that incident for Mark Whitford. Whitford still in the race though, he's right behind Mike Stoffmill.
Yeah, he's in.
Oh! Bit of contact between them.
Yeah, as John Dalton's making a move onto Vincent now, just in the background there. As to defend the inside line. Get forced around the outside, but Jansen's also right behind. Jansen not having a great start to this race. He's down in P7 to the potential pole sitter. Not off to the best start.
Yep. So his car was a bit sideways, as he's losing more positions out of that, I think. Dropping down to P9, behind Jordan Wansink in the KTM.
Yeah, I think he's struggling a bit with traction. Obviously, the Maserati doesn't come with traction control or ABS. So he's got to manage that a bit carefully. And obviously, the grass is quite slippery. It's not a place you really want to be. Right, Stoffman gets a bit wide there. Mark Whitford might try and make his way past. He's on the outside into the final corner. Does seem to slot up ahead. Ken might get the run now. Doesn't seem like it, so Mark Whitford back into P3 once again. As they complete their second lap.
Thomas Jensen, the big loser so far in the early stages of this race, dropping from P6 to P9.
An awful start for him. He's now, back in the KTM. And obviously that KTM did a bash earlier on in the race, so he just seems to be losing positions. To order behind has jumbled a bit with Sasha Hasse, all the way down in P18 after a fairly early incident. Again, that backpack is fairly close to each other right now, so any sort of small mistake will quickly mean you swallowed up.
Stoffmill and Whitford still very close together as they head into the final part of the lap. Let's see if Stoffmill can try anything here into turn 1. Looks too far away to me.
I don't think anything can happen right now, and he's got to watch out a bit from John Dalton. He's a bit on his own right now. It will be possible to close the gap to the Audi.
He's in the W&D Motorsports sandwich right now.
Yeah, it's probably not the best place to be right now. I wouldn't imagine that Whitford would do anything to do any sort of, try and slow down Mike, but they both go a bit wide there. But I just don't think they have that car has enough pace in it versus the BMW, especially down the straight line. John Dalton is now right behind the back. And Brands Hatch, not the best circuit for overtaking. Funnily enough, just due to the nature of the fast corners here, you don't have quite enough grip to really take alternate lines here. As my stuff goes a bit wide there, and possibly now lose position to John Dalton. And he does that as John Dalton slips in front of him just for now. Might do anything else against this. Doesn't quite look like it. Just doesn't look like he's got enough pace to do it.
Jensen very close to the back of Wansink though. So he might try something into the next corner as they are side by side. Jensen goes down the inside. It looks like Wansink got a slightly better exit maybe. Still side by side on the start finish straight. Jensen maybe hedging ahead slightly. And it does look like Jensen will take P8 here.
Yep, so a good move around the inside there, just as a bit more straight line grunt. Bonzig tried his best to hang it around the outside at final corner, but doesn't seem like he could have get quite enough the right speed to do that. Meanwhile at the front, Lawrence is closing the gap to Mawson. So it does seem like Mawson's pace advantage is going down a bit, while Lawrence is stepping up a bit.
Stuffmill sticking close to the back of John Dalton.
On the midfield fight, Valentin Muller is currently behind James Butler right now. Can you see you make anything happen as well, as midfield is always close as ever, as it's very close to the back of Camaro. Porsche of Rico flies to the GetBot racing cars, and the Alpines are sort of forming a little train right now. As Vincent just had a bit of a moment there. He's gone off the track. We quickly watch a replay of that. So, as you, what quite happened there. Just outbraked himself trying to defend from Verstappen in the McLaren. Nearly collects another car. Managed to get out of the way and out of the back of that little pack right now. Didn't lose too much time, but he did lose some of it. Could have been worse. Was a yellow flag for a quick second, but it seems to have disappeared. So Lawrence is looking down the inside into the final corner. See if he can make anything happen. Looking down the inside of Druids, might make it happen here right now if he's alongside into the corner. And Mawson can't really fight back, unfortunately. He gets a bit stuck behind him. It looks like Lawrence will make the move, so he now moves up into first place. And the gap behind him is about 4 seconds right now, so those two have been gapping Mark Whitford quite significantly. Lawrence always starting to try and bring a gap. The track will be slowly getting darker. It's already pretty dark right now, but obviously as it all goes on, as Rico is a bit wide. A bit wide there, and just lose a bit more time as Willie is trying to size up a move on the Camaro of James Butler.
Oh, John Dalton making the move on Mark Whitford into turn 1. And the teammates have swapped positions.
Will Mark have a good look now? No, he doesn't. So that's a good move by John Dalton there. And quickly watch that back as those Dalton just seems to be the quicker of the two cars. Oh, he lets him through, I think. Team rules is at play. I can see the saw Mark's indicator go on just there on the replay. does seem that they have decided that Dalton is faster than you, Felipe. So that's now switched them back. I wonder if they're going to try and tow each other now, as that will try and help them close the gap to the leaders. As Mawson.
They were very close together on the straight just then, so I think maybe that is what they're trying to do.
As Mike Stoffmel's just lingering behind right now, as they're trying to probably close the gap to Mawson, who is losing time to Marcus Lawrence. Lawrence has got a bit of pace in hand, it seems, and is using it now in this fairly early stage of the race. So Mark Whitford is looking like Stoffmill might be trying to do something as he's closed the gap up to the back. Just saying that, loses a bit more time. Jansen's also trying to close the gap on the Verstappen behind.
Haase is into the pit lane. His car looks pretty scratched up, so I'm guessing something's gone wrong for him.
I think they're off fairly early in the race, and then I guess it only got worse from there. As I believe he's possibly dropped out. Mr. Delvin's also in the pit lane. I don't know what happened to them. Thomas Jansen's trying everything he can to try and get past Verstappen there.
Yep, definitely closing the gap, trying to get back into P6.
I believe Rico Hasse has got both in front of both James Butler and just James Butler. Sorry, I'm reading that wrong. Miller has got in front of James Butler eventually. Those two are just positioned as well. So,
well, they're creating quite a gap to them as well, and closing up on Sebastian Brunier and Robin Nygaard. Yeah, we got box racing cars.
He's right behind Sebastian right now. As Robin Nygaard somewhat made a little getaway. Just doesn't seem like the Alpine's the quickest car around here at points. I think there's can't quite make a move there right now, but we'll possibly have a go very shortly, depending on if Sebastian can keep the pressure up.
Jansen still very close to Christopher Strappen. They're heading onto the start-finish straight again. Don't think he's quite close enough to make a move into turn 1 though.
One thing that would be quite worrying for P3 and down is John Dalton's losing time. Mawson's also losing time to Lawrence. So Lawrence is definitely the quickest car on track, I think.
Stoffmill still sticking close behind Mark Whitford.
As Thomas Jansen's just got in front of Verstappen there, so completely missed the move. I pressed replay. Turns out it happened before Graham Hill Bend, possibly. So good work by Jansen there. He moves up into P6, but now got to close a 3.6 second gap to Mike Stoffmill.
And Tim Elliott very close to the back of Sebastian Bernier. So I think we could see some moves happening here pretty soon. Elliott is lapping quite a bit faster than Bernier. Nygaard's still lapping faster than both of them though. Seems like Nygaard is forming a bit of a gap to them. Whereas him and Bernier were very close together before. You can speak now, sorry.
Basically, I'm going to get the biggest gap as possible and hoping Sebastian can hold them back as long as possible, because obviously I feel like that Elliott, once having a bit more free air, might be able to close the gap on them, given how quickly he closed the gap on them in the first place. As James Butler's under pressure now from Rico Hassa. Steve Higgins
Mark Whitford is very close to John Dalton again. They're forming a bit of a gap to Mike Stoffmill, 1.3 seconds.
Stephen Higgins is in the pit lane right now. I don't know any reason for that right now.
I don't know why he is in the pits. I don't see any damage to his car. There does seem to be some work happening on the car though. As he has now disconnected, okay. Hopefully we'll find out soon what happened to him.
So Rico Hassa and James Butler very close. Ooh, Verstappen goes a bit wide through Paddock Hill. Might let him have a possible opportunity for Wanzig. Tries to close the gap. Can't be quite close enough. James Butler's fallen down to P15. I think he might have an off as he's now racing the Jensen. There's two of them now. Different, well, slightly different spellings, but confuses me nonetheless. They're going alongside each other right now. And makes a nice little cutback move by Butler there. Bit of straight now, so watch out for the Audi now, and then the Buffalo straight, will he be able to close the gap?
Bernier and Elliott still fighting.
Might be able to get past them quite yet. Does seem to be getting close, but not quite close enough.
Yep, there's also got Verstappen and Wanzing still fighting. Wanzing might be able to make a move into turn 1. I don't think he'll be able to. No, he just didn't quite get enough speed there. Oh, Verstappen goes off the road.
Seems to have bottomed out into turn 1. Oh, he collects the Alpine behind.
Yep, falls behind Urbridge. Lands the P9.
See, ooh, that's a bit close. Tiny bit close there. Yeah, I think I saw Spark come off curb 1. I think he took it a bit too aggressively. Car blossoms out and spits him into the gravel. That's what cost him 2 positions now. Possibly a bit too much pressure from the Wanzig behind. It's not really too much, it's just Wanzig did what he needed to do. It's just too much for Verstappen to handle there, is probably a more correct way of saying that.
As the gap between Mark Whitford and Mike Stoffmill is reducing, and Marcus Lawrence has managed to form a 3.7 second gap to Ryan Mawson. So he's looking very strong right now. Faster than anyone in the field.
They seem to have like a big bit of a pace advantage right now. Compared to the pole sitter, who, as you said earlier, has a 4.3 second gap now.
Thomas Jensen does seem to be slowly reducing the gap to Mike Slough-Mel.
It's still behind Brunier, as the gap to his teammate is about 2 seconds now. Things have somewhat calmed down a bit. Obviously, people are still within striking distance, but not quite really close enough to going anywhere. People's pace is quite equal as well.
Yeah. Thomas Jensen doing very equal pace to Mike Slough-Mel on the last lap. As we are getting towards the halfway point of the race. There's still a long while to go.
Yeah, the gaps have been very much hovering around the same. It's slowly starting to get a bit darker out there. It shouldn't really affect too much. I don't see the track getting much colder than it already is.
So, fortunately, not a lot to talk about at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, Merlitt's dropped a bit back from Sebastian as well. That's gap's now 1 second. Jensen's not really being able to close that gap, and might wait for once again gains onto Dalton, but the fact that earlier they sort of let each other through, I don't think they're really going to be racing each other much. Which is a bit of a shame, but I guess Dalton is higher in the championship right now and has an equal chance.
Whitford hasn't scored any points yet.
No.
Whereas Dalton is currently P3 in the championship.
Yeah, well,
so he has a serious chance. Maybe taking this championship, especially with Mike Slough-Mel not doing as well at the moment. And P2 in the championship is Jordan Grant-Smith, who is not in this race.
Yeah, he was in the server earlier, but I don't know why he's not racing. I've seen a disconnect. Have any updates on that or not?
I don't think I've seen him in the server, but maybe I'm wrong.
Ooh, a bit of a close moment there with Mike Slough-Mel to Mark Whitford goes a bit defensive there to try and block the move going into Druids. Mike Stockman tries to go around the outside. I don't think he can quite do that there in these cars. Valiant effort though. They are getting a bit close indeed. I think Mike Stockman's a bit out for blood right now. Obviously, with the drop rule in place, whichever is worse out of this or poorer cars will be dropped. He still has a win no matter what. I think. Come on, did he win Zandvoort as well? What did he won now? He won Kalami. Didn't win Zandvoort. So he'll still have one win under his belt, no matter the result here.
Yep, Grant Smith won Zandvoort.
And Jansen
Mill came in P2.
But I think that Jansen's at a disadvantage. He can still win this. But obviously, he's missed 2 rounds, so he's got his drop rounds effectively already spent. And then he's also missed another round as well. So he's also got a chance, depending on how the results of others go, as he is still trying to close that gap to McStuffle and Whitford, and his best interest to get in front of as many cars as possible. As A. Brock is... A. Brock. It's not his name. I just read what the thing says. Ooh, Mark Whitford goes deep there at Druids and allows Mike Shuffle to get alongside him into Graham Hill. Oh, as it gets a bit off there.
Didn't know Audi made lawnmowers.
No, I don't think so either.
Thomas Jensen very close to the back of Stoffmill now. He's definitely been gaining over the last... in the last lap, he actually gained more than half a second.
I think this side-by-side racing going on between these two is helping his gap a tiny bit as well, as I was watching the replay as that, as a bit less. I think Stoffel got pushed a bit wide there. Nothing serious, but obviously did lose him a bit of time and forced him onto the grass there. See if he's got pace now to close up. He's probably very much interested now getting in front of Whitford, who's lost a bunch of time to his teammates, and no longer has got that advantage on a draft anymore. There is a back marker in the way, but he should not be too much of an issue, I don't imagine.
I just noticed Sebastian Bernier is down in P21.
Oh yeah,
something's happened to him.
He's had an off moment as Muller is in front of Nygaard as well, so something's been going on in the midfield while this is all going on, so it's always the issue when you've got effectively one pair of eyes. You can't look everywhere, and does seem to have something happened in the background. As Nygaard's now in front of Muller. Muller. As James Butler's in the pit lane now as well, so definitely a kerfuffle's happened, I think.
Yep, Butler in the pits. He doesn't seem to have any damage on his car, as far as I can tell. So don't really know why he's in the pits.
There has to be something going on. There's too many cars of changing positions and losing and gaining time to really have something not happen.
Butler is heading back out.
He's just going to be careful because the top 4 Fight for P4 pack is just coming straight through right now. He sort of parks in the exit of the pit lane there.
Ooh. So he's let off that pack through. He's also going to let Jordan Wonsink through. Yeah, he was just kind of parked at the pit actually there. Because that's his way of dealing with being left.
I mean, he's far off the track if he's in the pit lane at least. He's not going to, have to try and do the whole no you first kind of thing on the track. So, lucky there's no pit stops in this race, otherwise he would probably block the pit lanes for anyone else trying to pit. As we are over the halfway mark. The gap to the leader is growing bigger and bigger and bigger. As it's now 5.5 seconds. Mawson's
That is
lacking
an impressive lead for Marcus Lawrence.
Yeah, Mawson doesn't seem to have quite replicate his early race pace he had. Maybe we can come back to him later in the race.
Right now, we're still got to keep an eye on Whitford, Stoffmel, and Jensen. We're all very close together. Dalton getting a bit more of a gap to these three now. I did see some blue flags being waved.
Possibly a back marker, there's also yellow flags as well, so possibly someone off the track. Sebastian Bruno up the road, so he's going to have to try and do his best to let these cars through. Valentin Miller is trying to close the gap onto Robert Nygaard right now. And that's sort of all that's really going on at this point in the race, I think. Once again, there's this issues and collisions and stuff in the race, just somewhat unfortunately break up the fight sometimes, and we still at least have the fight for P4 going on. Sebastian's just trying to get out of the way of the pack. Lawrence still have a commanding lead right now. Think anyone can really challenge him at this point.
So it looks like Whitford is also starting to get away slightly from Stoffmel and Jansen.
So Jansen right behind the back of the Mike Stoffmel's car. An easy excuse to go on board because who doesn't love the Maserati engine sounds? I've said this previously, but this car sounds like an old GT1 car when it's GT4. There's Rico Hasser's in the pits right now. Don't know what's going on with all that.
Volko von Falkenstein is also heading into the pits. Again, doesn't seem to have any damage on his car. Not sure why people are pitting. We don't have any rule about changing tires in this series. Maybe some people getting confused.
Yeah, I don't think it's listed anywhere, unless I left some on the rule backs, and I don't think I've listed it anywhere as a requirement.
As they are both heading back out. So car running very wide near Falkenstein there. I think that's McRae. It is. Whitford definitely having a bit of a gap to Stoffman and Jansen now. Those two still very close though.
Yeah, I think it's from Whitford's best interest that these two keep fighting each other to keep that gap extending. And it has into the back straight. Well, it's not the back straight. It's like 3 straights around here technically. Not quite close enough to really make any sort of move. Closed a bit of gap on the brakes. No yellow flag out someone, of course, but it's cleared.
So in the meantime, James Butler has also retired from the race. We saw him heading into the pits earlier.
Yeah, and that's all. He was in the race earlier. Rico Hassa, who currently now down in P14. Josh Hansen, with this gap now, he's not really losing it right now. Obviously, he's sort of keeping the gap there. Verstappen is losing 2.23 seconds to the car ahead now, so Whitford's got, I think, quite the gap now. As the gap between the leaders is closed down to 3.7 seconds. I don't know what's quite going on here. Is Marcus Lawrence?
Mawson just gained half a second on Lawrence on the last lap. So we'll have to see if maybe anything happened to Marcus, or if that's actually a consistent thing and Mawson may be closing the gap.
Yeah, it's either traffic or he might have just burnt his tyres out, possibly overheated them. Possibly with the wrong pressures. Obviously, the track is quite cold. And it actually has got a bit colder as well. It's 16 degrees average right now on track, apparently.
Yep.
That might have been playing an effect and might have actually allowed Mawson to, keep his tyres a bit cooler and gain some time back. Because Mawson very early on in the race was very quick. And that could be a tyre thing. It could be a case if his tyres were switched on quicker, and then overall Marcus during the race got more suited, and now maybe it's going the other way now.
As I've noticed, Jordan Wansink has also disconnected from the server. Not sure when that happened. I think that would have been a while ago already.
Wolkenstein is closing the gap to Helsvard, down the fight for P14. So this is going to be interesting to move here. The KTM hugs the inside line. Forces Wolkenstein to go around the outside, but he might have a bit enough of a runoff. Or overrun to do it. Not quite. He does make it work in the next corner, and Wolkenstein will proceeds to go very deep there and lose a bit of time. And unfortunately for the KTM, has to also check the brakes just so they don't run into the back of it. Oh, the brake balls has been knocked over. Just saw it on camera.
Oh no. As Mawson has again gained a few tenths on Marcus Lawrence.
Both not exactly having setting the world on fire with lap times. People behind them are setting 32s in the 0.6, while they're setting 33s and 32.8s. So not exactly the fastest laps for the leaders, but it might just be enough to really remove a threat, as John Dalton is slower than those two as well, so he's not got exact pace to challenge for P2 right now, I don't think. There's a back marker as Vincent has got a drive-through penalty. I believe that's for too many track limits. So he'll probably start to drop down the order. The gap to Stoffel and Mark Whitford is closing a bit.
Looks like Mark is gaining on Dalton again as well. They've got one of the McLarens ahead of them. That is Adam Carlisle down in 16th. There's just another disconnect. That was Vincent Urbridge, who just got a drive-through penalty. Seems to have given up on the race as a result.
I don't know what happened there. He did possibly just too many cut tracks, as the lapped car is on the straight now. As only let one car through. John Dalton. I'll probably be a bit careful now as some of the other cars come through. Gets a bit on the grass there. As Mike Stoffel hits him. Just got in the way. I don't quite know what happened there.
What happened there?
Watch a replay of that.
Looks like Carlisle just tried to cut in on Mike. Was on the inside. And so there's another car spun around there. April Karsford in the KTM.
Oh, that's a big old impact there. I just saw it on the replay. The McLaren was on the grass and just sort of went straight in front of Stoffel. I don't think Stoffel was expecting it to cut across.
I think Whitford, I'm not sure what happened, but Whitford seems to have been somehow involved in that as well, as he has dropped behind Thomas Jansen, and he's clearly got some damage to his front end.
Further back than I thought it was, so yeah, he's... Yeah, so Jansen now moves it to P4. This race is starting to get a bit interesting now towards the last minutes. Is there enough time for anything else to happen though? Probably. You never know, but it does seem that some of the back marker had a bit of issues. And they don't, it's the worst thing to be a back marker or having a bad race and hitting someone else in the lead lap. But they don't mean to. It's one of the worst things as a driver to do that, you know. So sucks when it happens, really, and I've got a good race. The gap between the leaders is now 2 seconds. Under 2 seconds, actually, now. Ryan is definitely starting to fly right now. He's found the go fast switch in the Aston, and Lawrence has found the go slow switch. As he is losing a lot of time right now to the Aston Martin.
Sebastian Brunier about to make a move on Adam Carlisle. Just gone down the inside. Carlisle seems to be losing time after that incident with Mike Softmill. So
Okay,
Brunier moves up to P15.
Ryan Mawson right behind Lawrence. Lawrence has got an issue. All his tyres are completely off now because
Yeah, Mawson gained a second on the last lap.
I don't see any traffic. The only traffic's behind them. His tyre, he's either got a puncture, his tyres are at the wrong temperature, or he's got damage, or he's got like an issue with his hardware, like on his end. And Mawson's right behind, is going to try and make the overtake now, as he's got a bit of a run. Stops him behind, so Lawrence is definitely going to not give us up easily, so...
Yeah, he seems to be fine on the straights at least.
The BMW is very strong, but in these corners it's just... doesn't seem to be there anymore. And so I can't see any damage on the car when it just drove past, so I don't think he has hit anything or anyone. It's only 11 minutes to go, so will Mawson be able to take the lead once again? He started on pole, dropped down to P2, and is right behind the current leader.
Yeah, Marcus Long is definitely losing time in the corners. Doing absolutely fine in the straight, so I think that may just be a tire issue.
Mawson so much later on the brakes going to Druids. Get a bit close to him right now. Trying to do the cutback. No, get set against it. Wants to maybe go a bit wide though. There's a bit of a cut over there. So he's quite aggressive trying to keep in front right now. So throwing everything he can to defend this. It's just a bit of a slow corner through Surtees. Mawson sort of dummying overtaking right now to try and make him make a mistake, as Backmark proceeds to go off the track as Mawson tries to make the cutback work, heading down into Dingledale. Stays alongside him, cuts a bit of the track there, got no real room else to go. Thomas Jansen's now under a second to the guys. Rico Hasta is closing on Dendo as well. That's to bring it onto Mark Webb as well. So it's all starting to happen now in the last few minutes.
Yep, lots of stuff happening. As Softmill is slightly gaining on Mark Whitford, but they are both running with damaged cars.
Jensen under half a second now. I'm trying to flick through both cars right now. I don't know how easy it's going to be. Both going to just be trying to defend their positions right now as Mawson pulls down the inside. Be a bit careful cutting that much grass there. Yeah, it's so hard to overtake around here. It's sorry. The straights are not quite long enough he can make a move, and the corners at the end of them are not quite defined enough to just make a late lunge. So it's not ideal, especially in cars that don't produce too much slipstream. Especially when the BMW is that quick off the mark. It's Mawson's probably going to start getting a bit more aggressive. He does want to make something happen with the way Mawson is defending right now. He goes round the inside there. Can he get a good exit though going into Graham Hill? Lawrence back in the front. Proceeds to roll out wide there. Will he keep the run going? There's a back marker up ahead, which might play into things a tiny bit. Slot in behind once more. The KTM gets far out of the way. Jansen's also right behind Dalton as well, just a bit further down. As this Denzo gets out of the way of the fight for the lead. 6 minutes to go. Time is closing down. Less time to make the move happen. Dalton still remains in front of Jansen right now. Ooh, has to go around the outside. That makes a cut back go, but will it be enough? Not quite. Mawson's stuck in a little trap right now. He's so close to the back of the BMW. The BMW just needs to take a different line, and there's a aggressive blocking there going on by Mawson. Not Mawson, Lawrence, I mean. Just hanging it around the inside. Mawson just taking all the defense he can. Trevor back behind these guys as the fight for Pete, the final spot on the podium as well.
Yeah, so we've got two very interesting fights going on right now. It's kind of hard for us to keep track of both of them, but we will do our best. So Mawson again going to turn one, very close together. There seems to be a little more of a gap between Jansen and Dalton this time around, so Jansen gets very close on the corner exit.
The more these lot fighting, the closer they're getting actually, so the gap's now 2.3 seconds between the leaders and P3, so...
Yeah, only 4 minutes left in the race as well. Like we're only going to have a few more laps. I guess maybe 3 more laps, 2 or 3.
Oh, Dalton goes a bit deep there and allows Jansen to get alongside. It's now a drag race between the two cars. Dalton gets away with it, it seems like. just about, and will stay in front. So BMW definitely has the grunt in the straight line to keep up with the other cars, and it seems to have very great traction as well out of the corners. Just a bit further up the road is still the fight for P1. It's 3 minutes now. It's getting awfully close, and I'm really wondering what's going to happen.
Yep, so the timer reaches 3 minutes. So it looks like we're going to have 2 more laps of this.
Stoffmill's close at the back to Mark Whitford as well. That's under half a second as well, so I didn't know which right fight to follow at this point. I'm going to stick with the leaders for now, but if something else happens, I'm probably going to miss it right now.
I'll keep an eye on Dalton and Jansen.
And the third eye can keep track of Stoffmill and Whitford. Mawson looks down the inside once again. Not quite enough overrun to really make it work. He's going to have to send it at some point. There's so much you can handle behind someone before this will end in disaster. So Lawrence is placing his car wherever he can. The widest M4 GT4 you have ever seen. We'll probably have 2 more laps after this. Maybe even 1 more, depends when they finish. It's going to be close.
Yeah, it's going to be 1 more.
Yeah, it's going to be 1 more definitely now. So, will there be enough time for any of these people to make a move? Falkenstein's behind Dendo as well, even further back down the order. As Bolton is a bit on the grass there and losing a lot of time.
Stoffmill side by side with Whitford going into the final corner to start their final lap. Looks like Stoffmill will get ahead on the straight. And so Stoffmill takes P5.
Well, you get a charge back now from Matt Whitford. He's to block the inside line. Both of them are weaving across right now. Am I watching GT4 racing? I'm watching F1 right now because of the moves these guys are making. I don't think these are the right cars for it, as this is going to be the last lap for sure. Mawson has lost a bit of time now to the back of the BMW of Marcus Lawrence. Will he be able to do it?
Between Dalton and Jansen as well. Stoffmill seems to have a bit more gap to Mark Whitford now as well. So I think they just have to deal with some traffic. Because they've got Zendo in the Camaro right behind them.
Just 1 more corner to go for Mawson. Can he do anything? His back marker in the way. He gets out of the way of Dalton and Jansen as well, so they're going to cross the finish line. And Marcus Lawrence will take the victory here, Brands Hatch. After a lot of defending there from Mawson. Thomas Jansen takes home P4. There's Fox P6 after trying so hard to keep that car going. Has an incident in the end which cost him a lot of positions there.
Yeah, Thomas Jansen actually might have had us to run on Dalton in the final corner, but he had some oversteer on the exit of basically when they're going onto the straight before the final corner. Got on the curbs, had some oversteer, and that seems to have cost him maybe still a small chance at the podium. But still a pretty good result in P4.
Yeah, well, it comes home on P at 9 in the end after all of that. It's probably enough action we saw on track which we have just missed completely. As Jensen is going across quite
very slowly.
Has he run out of fuel? I can't hear him.
I assume he has.
It's going way too slow.
I'm
for
on
this.
board with him, and he is not. His car has
Oh
come to a
no!
halt.
Oh
His
no!
engine has stopped, but he's still
What are
trying to
you
get
doing?
over the line. Is he
Come
gonna
on!
do it? It's slightly
One
downhill,
wheel!
so should be able to do it.
Last
Maybe.
wheel! Last wheel! No!
No.
No!
No.
No!
No.
The flag is right there! Someone push him,
Oh.
please! Someone! Come on!
Nah, that engine is completely stopped. There's nothing he can do.
He's got. Is anyone else left on track still? I can just push him across the line.
Yeah, someone push him, please.
Come on, Wilson. Do it. Someone, please.
Please.
Uh,
Oh.
and that is the race. Marcus Lawrence takes the victory. It's been a long time since he's won a race, I believe, in the OVRC. Mawson comes home P2, Dalton P3, Jansen P4, Sophomore P5 after a decent recovery drive. Mark Whitford in P6, Verstappen P7, Robert Nygaard P8, Van Miller P9, and the other Jensen P10.
Oh, someone's pushing him. One of the Alpines just pushed Jansen over the line, but it's too late, unfortunately.
I wonder if it counts. Does that count as a finish?
No, it doesn't. Still says has a little green strip next to them rather than a checkered flag, so I don't think that counts.
Right, so that is round 4. And, yeah, that was an interesting
That was
race
a
towards the end.
Yeah, very enjoyable race, especially towards the end. So, if you enjoyed that as much as we did, please click the like button. We would really appreciate it. And subscribe to the channel if you want to catch our upcoming races. So, next week, we're going to have the GT3 series at Suzuka. And then in 2 weeks' time, the GT4 series will return at the Hungaroring. And of course, we'll also be uploading today's pole lap by Ryan Mawson to the channel pretty soon. So subscribe if you want to see those things.
Until then, stay safe. We'll see you then.
Goodbye.